On this episode of On the Line, we are speaking to Jon and Vinny.
A couple of guys known as much for their great personalities as they are for their culinary artistry.
They have Jon and Vinny. You knew their famous restaurant Animal. They have Son of a Gun. They do everything. And if you've flown on Delta, you've probably eaten their food.
Jon and Vinny have helped to put Los Angeles on the world stage of great culinary cities.
I am so excited for you to listen in to talk about this dynamic duo and their partnership. Yes, a successful long-term partnership in the restaurant industry. It is rare that we have two people on the line, and it is rare that a relationship lasts this long.
Jon and Vinny's restaurants span the spectrum from fine dining to red sauce comfort. Welcome, Jon and Vinny on the line.
Okay, Dan's going to give you an illustrious introduction.
Yo, I've got a
please.
single-spaced full page that I want to read about you guys.
So get
Don't
ready.
face.
He wrote it
All
himself.
the bad things I hope that you've pulled off a line.
I'm also doing something that I think has never been done before for the first time ever on the line. We're inviting
Two guests.
two guests but we still have a single seat. So, and I'm gonna we are inviting Vinny Dotolo.
Dotolo, I don't know. Whatever you want
Dotolo.
today, you can do.
And Jon
you want.
Shook. And I'm going to say their names like that. For the first time ever, they're going to be backwards. It's Vinny and Jon.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever heard you guys like that?
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Doesn't
as easy.
work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
And actually, technically, grammarly, it doesn't work because you're
Why
supposed
not?
to use the first letter of the first name in the alphabet. So that's why.
So this is the whole theme of this whole letter right here is that these
Bam.
guys are like these kind of easy breezy, fun-loving stoner guys that, you're like, oh, they're kind of best friends. But, don't sleep and don't underestimate them because they're sharp as a whip. And there's a method to the madness inside below those hats and behind those beards, ladies and gentlemen, are a couple of fast-moving brains.
Am I the only
something
one without a
there.
beard in the room?
So now that I've been corrected for my grammatical
Mistakes.
Thanks for that. Vinny and Jon met at culinary school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Became fast friends and traveled via detour in Colorado to sunny Los Angeles in search of their version of Biggie's 3 W's: surf, sunshine, and great food. I was trying to be cool because Biggie, he has the wine, the women, and the weed, or something.
Yeah.
The weather, the women, and the something. Los Angeles has a long and rich culinary history with tons of amazing restaurants featuring best-in-class examples of food from all over the world. But at the time when these guys first got out here, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but kind of like London, Los Angeles wasn't known as a great food city. And I'm not passing judgment, but personally. But if you ask most chefs in 1998 about the food in Los Angeles, they'd most likely say great tacos, great sushi, couple great red sauce joints. It's not like a culinary shithole. There's that Providence place in Spago, but it's not a great food town. And we take for granted that today Los Angeles is this world-class food city. And there's an argument for the narrow-focused, like xenophobic judgment of food being, to blame for the city's lackluster reputation back then. However, there's no question that the food scene has grown exponentially in the last 20 years. And it begs the question, how does a place evolve to where it is today so quickly? And Vinny and Jon,
Or Jon and Vinny.
or Jon and Vinny, play an important role in that transformation. So every great food city has something that makes it special, like sets it apart. A signature that makes the place distinctly of that place. And in Los Angeles, it can be argued, creativity is the thing that makes it special. Like LA is a deeply creative place from a food perspective. Angelino restaurants are not mired in tradition. There aren't established, long-standing, definitive best practices. Real estate is relatively plentiful and reasonably cheap.
Used to be.
We could talk about that. This is so long that I've lost my place now. Which allows folks to take chances. You can kind of still afford to take a chance in LA, which is special. And in 2008, Vinny and Jon, I wrote it backwards. Jon and Vinny took a smallish place on Fairfax and they absolutely crushed it out of the park with a spectacular, game-changing restaurant. They were true to themselves and built a place where they'd want to eat, with music they'd want to listen to, treating their staff the way they'd want to be treated. And they threw away the pretense and the tablecloths and they put their money on the plate. deeply creative food that hadn't been put out there until then. At the same time that David Chang was chopping it up in New York City with fancy food, hip hop, and graffiti, Vinny and Jon in New York, Jon and Vinny were doing the same thing out here in LA. And I remember my brother taking me to Animal, and I ordered the chicken fried quail, and I was so jealous that they had the balls to cook the way that they did. And I was so excited that it was working, because it was a game changer for the industry. And it was a big inspiration for me and continues to live in my memory as one of those special restaurants with the special energy that is obviously way bigger than the sum of its parts. And I'm only one restaurant into their empire. So I got a couple more pages. No. So without taking more time or blowing more smoke up your asses, I can sum it up and say that they've gone on to open, I don't know, like 10 or 12, 15, 1,000 more restaurants.
Yeah, we've opened some, closed some.
Yeah.
Drawn inspiration from around the world, partnered with, mentored, trained, worked alongside countless chefs and managers and restaurateurs, started and supported countless careers. Their mark on the Los Angeles dining scene is indelible. And if you talk to anybody, they're universally known as genuinely great guys, which is wild. From the outside looking in, it seems like you're having a great time doing it. And you're bringing a lot of joy and a lot of happiness to a lot of people that you work with and that you feed. It's really something special. And they're the first people that I reached out to when I moved to Los Angeles, and they graciously shared their advice, support, and connections. So thank you. Because it was like coming to a new city is
really hard.
Daunting.
Yeah.
And we've never spent any significant time together, but I've been following you guys. I've been following along. And so thank you for all the great meals and helping me get to where I am and helping build a world where I get to cook the way I do and for being here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
That means a lot. I think I could just leave now.
Okay. I was
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna get up. Anything I'm gonna say is just gonna damage
You
that.
guys did something special.
True. That is not
to
true.
mention your footwear is unbelievable.
Oh, thank you.
Sexy.
Thanks.
What is that?
Oh, shout out to the row.
Oh my god. What is that? Is that like a? It's like a.
They're eel actually.
No.
Yeah.
I was gonna
they're
say.
eel.
I was gonna say.
And they're Italian. I mean, they make.
Vinny's talking about bringing the full-on three-piece suit back.
Yeah, no, I don't know. No.
Three-piece
John's
suit.
making
You
stuff
can do
like
it.
that.
You can do it. If
I can.
anybody
I can do
He's
it.
gonna
You
evolve
can do
it back.
Yes.
You know
I saw
what
on
mean?
Instagram that was like, "Yo, what's stopping you from working like that? Like dressing like that?" And the comment was like, because I don't work as a valet in an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, that was an amazing introduction.
Just to be honest, I wore last week the same pants for a week straight in the kitchen. So
It's okay. These pants?
No, not these pants.
I was gonna say they wash so well.
A pair
smell
of Carhartt work pants, and I just changed my t-shirt and underwear and socks, and that was it.
You're a fashion icon.
Can I say one other thing? Sorry to just
No.
You mispacked.
one other thing.
yeah.
Yo, there was a point, I was listening to a conversation with you guys, and there was a point in your career where you were like kind of going down the Food Network world of, and I don't want to disparage the Food Network at all because I think it's great. I'm a fan. But you were kind of like going down this world where you were asked to be a little bit corny and maybe not be yourselves.
Yeah.
And you had the kind of, you like steered away from that. And man, it must be challenging to be like, yo, I finally get this dream. I get to be on TV and but they're kind of asking me to be corny and I don't want to, and it's not who I am. And you guys had the wherewithal to steer away from that.
I think our dream was to own a restaurant, right? Food Network was just our path to get there.
Right.
Because when you're out there and you have a dream of opening a restaurant, trying to get somebody to give you money is very difficult. And it was an opportunity that approached us kind of randomly through doing catering in LA, which is obviously the capital of show business. And it spawned into a show. I would say that it doesn't necessarily best reflect who we are and what we were then.
What year
Or
was
now.
that? Was that 2008?
2006 it was filmed.
2006.
It was filmed in it was filmed in we were hunting it like down in
Right.
probably 2004 and 5.
Wow.
And you know, we were being taken to the Food Network, MTV, all these other
it was-
places. And it was, but I think part of that journey and that path that John's talking about is sort of, I think part of the whole thing is kind of knowing what you don't want and what is not doing well for you or not serving you or any of these things. It's like, and to get to where you want to be and where you think you should be, sometimes you have to go through that stuff. And
also
we
were kids, right? And
Yeah.
like, you know, we, as much as we thought we were in control, we were so far from being in control, being in that kind of organization. And like, once you experience that feeling, if you're someone like us, you know, you pull back. So we pull back naturally, and I think that actually probably gave us the juice to get to here, right? And it's like,
Sometimes those experiences don't come out like you think they will. You're
Totally.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm going to take this TV opportunity and this is going to lead to blah, 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 blah. And then you realize like, whoa.
Or
you pull back and you're like, okay, now I'm going to refocus in on my other stuff.
Or if you would have gone the other route and done what they wanted
Yeah.
you to do and not been so resistant, I think like because of our age and the time that it was what it was going on, I think in our life and in our head, I think that played a factor in it and why we didn't want to be different. We wanted to be ourselves,
Right.
And we didn't want to be something that they wanted us to be. And we could have really capitalized on that opportunity to like be whatever they wanted us to be
Right.
and kind of do the show hands thing. And like, you know, we just kind of resisted and we were like, no, we don't want to do this. This
And
is where we
I
want to
would
be.
say that-
We actually offered the money back to them while we were filming the show. Yeah, we did. We were like, this was so much. This was
we don't want to
so
do
painful.
this.
Really?
Yeah.
We regret that we did.
wow.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was
it was
deep.
painful, you know what I mean? And I think
And it was called Two Dudes Catering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the name killed us too. It
yeah.
was like,
Well,
come on.
Two
that's,
dudes,
you know,
one pan? Was
No,
that was the
that was
cookbook.
Two chicks, one cup.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't want to bring it up. I was like, yo, I
Bring it
can't-
up. Bring it up.
Fuck, dude.
We told
But
them.
We showed them the video. We're like, and that's
Yo.
the thing where it's like, even to this day, right? It's
my
like
God.
people ask, oh, why don't you guys do television? We hardly ever even do podcasts. You know, we're
Thank
more
you.
private
Yes.
than public facing, even on our social accounts. I'm sure you guys
I was just going to ask you about
look
that.
on that.
Yep.
And like, there's a value to private that you can't explain, the value that it gives you, you know? And I think that we're already in the spotlight enough between, you know, we're close to almost 800 employees right now.
I was gonna ask how
within
many
the
employees.
organization, you know,
Wow.
and different companies that we're affiliated with. And like, you know, it's hard to please everybody. And like, what is accepted, what's not accepted, it's challenging, you know? And then
would
you get
imagine.
kind of in that reverse of like, okay, well, maybe I should have just sucked it up and
No,
done that
no,
show.
Yo,
no,
you can
no,
dance.
no.
You got if you
Absolutely
can.
not. No, you guys did the right
Sorry.
thing, but like to be okay.
Well,
to
there's
be
no
what-
right or wrong, and that's what I was trying to get at.
Well, you were so maybe you were in your 20s when that happened.
We were in our mid 20s.
To be able to know yourself well enough in your mid 20s and say, I don't want this. Actually, take the money back. I want what I had in my mind, and I don't care what I have to do to get it. I don't want this TV thing to
Yeah.
get it. Like most people would be like, I'll take it. I'll get
Yeah.
sucked in by the TV thing because I need it. And you guys really knew what you wanted. You
Yeah.
stood so strong on that, and I think that's
Yeah.
But you
that's
need to
why
have-
you're such a success.
You need to have these situations happen in your life.
Yes.
Right?
I think
to
we-
be able to know
we didn't-
like what you really want and what you like and what, you know, and I think, look, if we were going to do television now, there'd be only one deal.
Right.
We're in control.
That's
right?
right.
But we
right.
we
Fully
didn't
in
crave.
control.
I don't think we craved the celebrity or the fame from
Right.
it. We wanted to just be able to make stuff.
Sure.
And like making it like what's funny about it is actually the pilot episode was actually fun.
Sure.
And shit happened and it was unhinged and it was
Yeah.
like what it should have been.
Of course.
And then they took it back to them and they were like, what is this? then it became
even imagine.
then it became torture. And I
Right.
think like
Yeah, but that's
we
why I
knew we're
love-
coming out of it though. Like we knew when it all kind of happened and it dropped, we were so sort of embarrassed by it and like embarrassed by the book, embarrassed by the show that
We're still embarrassed by it.
we wanted to
Nobody
we wanted to
remembers it.
show
Don't
we
worry.
wanted to show the world.
Don't worry.
I think at the moment we wanted to show the world who we were then, and what we were then was animal.
Right.
You know, and that's what we were. And I think like we were just these kind of like, you know, aggressive, you know, young cooks who were willing to just like grind it out harder than anybody. Like we worked with people that were just as talented as us, more talented. You know, it was like, but they weren't willing to put the work in. They weren't willing to stay dedicated. They weren't willing to stay focused, and we were.
Yeah,
you know, and that's.
you were
I think
fearless.
that's where we surpassed people. Was that. You know, we worked next to people all the time. I was always so impressed by how good they were in the restaurants we were working in, and always was like, I'm not this good. I wish I could be this good. And like, you know, but one thing that separated us was that we were willing to put the work in and to get there and to go harder, go longer, put more hours in. It was like, even in school, it was like most of the kids that started school with us didn't finish. You know, it was like we went through school and did the 18-month program and finished in the 18 months.
Yeah.
It was like we were determined together.
You're also, when you're doing something that's innovative and cutting edge and new, you have to stick to your guns. Like Animal was. Like it changed everything for every chef around the country right now that's doing anything even similar to that. You guys paved the way for them. I know that sounds super cheesy, but you did, and I'm sure you hear it all the time.
We did. What we did too was like we were just being ourselves, and that was the most important thing.
You know
and
how hard that is to do.
No,
though?
I do.
To anybody listening, I think that's really important for what you just said.
Yeah.
Like you were just being yourselves. You know how, especially now, like we're almost luckier back then in like 2008, 2007. We didn't have all the social media eyes on us. We didn't have that kind of pressure,
that scrutiny
around us, you know, and we could be a little more creative and artistic and wacky, you know, and we could lay that ground. And now I think there's so much pressure to compare and despair and look at what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
It's so hard to be an original anymore. You know, it really is. And
it is.
I think about you guys as one of the originals that like really laid that ground, and the fact that you're still doing it and still doing it successfully and you're still in partnership with each other is fucking fascinating to me.
Yeah.
What do you think that's like something I failed at so many times, right? Being in a partnership with somebody and then losing it's the respect thing that always gets in the way. Like, how do you guys get through the day? Disagree? How do you
respect each other, but I think we're deeper than that. We're a bond that like I always say this too, is like we had the same trajectory.
Right.
We were in the same place when we met each other. We kind of came from a similar background.
Financially as well.
Like everything. It was all, we were just equal. And we treated each other as equals all the time. Do we agree all the time? Absolutely not. That'd be the most absurd idea ever.
Yeah.
That would be when people like
and that wouldn't even be interesting.
But honestly, we both have to agree to do something. That's how it works. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, for the most part.
I mean, they could be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the art museum by myself" or something like that. But I'm saying, as far as like business decisions, like, I like this location. I think we should put a restaurant here. I like this deal. Like, do you like it? Yeah. All right. Cool. We're doing it. Or you know, this is a person I think we should promote. Or
do you guys like? You cross over though so much, and there's
Yeah. Well, your career also changes as your company evolves, right? Now I would say Vinny and me play more of like a CEO role, co-CEO role. You know, we have fabulous, you know, corporate chef, corporate team underneath us. They do a fantastic job. Pastries as well.
Are you guys like when you have a tasting with this like corporate chef person? Can they kind of do their thing, or are you guys?
No. We're very involved.
No,
in
we're
the
very involved, and I
conversation.
think like that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's like we're still cooking through sort of like our own lens, and still like you know, with each other's tastes in mind, and like sort of trying to create in that way. But no, there's no chef that is like, this is what we're doing, kind of leading the charge on things.
How about the front of the house? Or is it the same thing where it's like
Helen's very involved in that.
Yeah.
She has definitely a lot of say in the front of the house direction.
And Helen is the woman that you own Helen's wine shop with.
Yeah. And she's a partner in Jon Vinny's.
Yes.
And
she started as a general manager at Animal.
like maybe that.
she
maybe
did?
Then moved to director of operations as we sort of evolved and had the partnership with Ludo.
So
and
she's been with you that long.
Yeah,
she's been with us since Animal, since the first year.
Yeah.
We were
She
open
was-
for about
where did
like
Ludo
our-
come from? How did that all happen? Like,
You
just
just
guys-
came from kind of random. We were at lunch together. And
I worked
kinda,
at L'Orangerie, by the way, for Ludo.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we're not part of
He
that
fired me
anymore.
after 3 weeks.
I'm
Tell,
not
tell our
surprised.
listeners who Ludo is. Tell everybody.
No,
Ludo's
Ludo's
how do you
a
pronounce his
legend.
last name?
Lefebvre.
Yeah.
Ludo's a legend. Ludo's
Yeah.
Ludo's one of the most talented people I've ever
Yeah.
worked with, and
But
But
come
you guys are
across.
done with that.
We're done
not
with
part of
it.
it,
It's
yeah.
it's like
So-
he
But
needed,
legend
he's
has
going
it that
his
you
on his.
Ludo was in Los Angeles. He was a great cook. You guys knew him, and he needed a restaurant.
Well, he
and
was
you
doing
helped
Ludo
him.
bites.
Yeah.
He was doing Ludo bites, and he was kind of moving around, and we were sort of like trying to convince him that he should have a permanent home and
Right.
say like, like people will keep coming to you. It's like just
And at that
make
point,
yourself
you had
available.
a couple restaurants. You had a little bit of dough, and you were able to support
We
that.
had we had Son of a Gun and Animal at that
Yeah.
point, and we were sort of
I had
looking.
this shrimp toast at Son of the Gun. I remember when that shrimp toast
Yeah.
really blew me away.
It's
I
still
love
good.
that.
It's still
Son of a
there
Gun's
right
still
now.
there.
Jordan
Still
Oken, you know that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made a shrimp toast on a sesame seed bagel I had fairly recently, and it blew my mind. It was like one of the most delicious things
Sounds
I've ever
similar
Sounds,
to,
yeah.
to what
I love a shrimp. I've never been a
Love
shrimp
shrimp
toast.
toast,
I don't
yeah.
like.
I think
To be honest with you,
I think
even a bad
Gabrielle
one's kinda
Hamilton
good,
inspired
you know?
me to do the shrimp toast. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
yeah, who's she? You know,
I beat Bobby Flay
So,
with the
so you,
shrimp toast.
so you
Yeah.
were like,
Hey, we
you
can
guys,
talk-
you guys helped him to set that up.
Yeah.
yeah, we set up
Yeah.
Twamek with
we were
him.
part of it. Helen helped open it. She was kind of the director of operations.
Ashley
at the time,
Raghavan, who
was there.
who owns all
Doug
time.
Rankin.
Yeah, Doug Rankin.
Who's obviously had his great path here in LA as well. So,
What is
So
he
you
doing
guys,
now?
as partners,
He-
decided to
what's
bring
his
somebody
restaurant in
else
Pasadena
and
called?
One more
support
time,
somebody.
sorry.
You guys, as partners, decided to.
I think we
support
got into
somebody.
this point in
Yeah.
our career.
Yeah,
You
which
know,
I think
your
is
career
great.
goes through different paths, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's like we were at this path career where it was like we felt like with Animal and Son of a Gun, we had figured out a formula that we liked, and like we started producing other chefs. We
Right.
were like, oh man, I remember how hard it was to get money and like all the things. So it made sense for us to do it, and like we did that for a while. And COVID obviously hit, and you start to decide what's important to you, and you start repositioning where you want to go and what you want to do. Right? It's like your life is like flashing in front of your light in your. It's like
You
every day
reassess.
is like
Yeah.
intense. You're trying to figure out how to stabilize a business so you could maintain your staff, and you're trying to manage your family life because your kids are out of school, right?
Right.
They're now being taught at home. So, and you're being told you're going to die.
On the Line podcast is brought to you by Danny Boy's famous original pizza. From downtown Los Angeles and Westwood, Los Angeles, Danny Boy's Pizza started with a singular goal of producing the best slice of pizza that we could possibly create. We make New York style pizza with the finest ingredients, built by a team of fun-loving, like-minded, culinary-driven individuals producing slices of pizza that are not going to empty your wallet, but they will fill your belly. Come down to Danny Boy's and say hi. I am on the line, cooking them up for you, as well as on the line with Amanda Freitag here in the studio for you.
Right?
Right.
Like basically, if you're in the
changes
world,
everything.
you're going to die, like without a mask. So it was like we were out there, and, I think you just change courses, and so when with Ludo, that an opportunity came up with him, and then obviously with the Kismet team, something, an opportunity came up with them, and we were able to all kind of part ways. And
Oh, so you're out of that too. That's
Yeah,
great.
we're out of here.
we're
So
all
you're
Amicably,
focused
though.
on
we're
Jon
pretty
and
much
Vinny.
focused on Jon and Vinny. So that's like our path right now. We
there's
just
that-
opened one in the Middle East last week.
where in the
That is
in
one of my
Dubai?
questions.
In
Saudi
Riyadh.
Arabia.
in
Yeah.
Riyadh. Yeah,
Whoa,
Holy
in Saudi? In
shit.
Saudi?
yeah, it's Saudi.
Oh, so wait a second. What do you do about the pork thing?
There's no pork.
So what do you do about
Veal.
like the
We make like
meatballs?
chicken sausage. We made veal, meatballs,
Use chicken.
The
skin
chicken
in
over there is better than
No.
chicken in America.
I would
We
think
use
so.
veal
It's so
instead
good.
of pork. We sell
Yeah.
his veal is affordable there. It's not like it is here.
It's like baby cows. Just
Yeah.
like half the time to
It
raise
should be
them.
half the price. but here in America, it's
It's the opposite. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
the beef
So you use
boards
veal
that
for the
take
texture,
that.
and
Of
then
course.
wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Now, so Saudi, there's definitely you're definitely not smoking any pot in Saudi.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not.
Straight to prison.
Definitely not.
That's it. No
smoking
I have
more
it.
a
so.
separate suitcase. I'm like, oh, I got to go over there.
Yo, straight. You gotta
no.
keep it
No.
classy.
But the Middle East just as a whole, Dubai, the group we're working with is based in Saudi, and they
Al
do
Shaya
no,
No.
the MJS, but they do Mr. Chow. They started Earth Cafe over there. They do Black Tap Burger, just a couple American brands that you guys might know.
But a lot of people were over there.
Yeah.
Really?
Carbone's there. Jones
Really?
is there. Jones on third.
Yeah.
Not
Nancy's
Cipriani.
there.
What's his?
Cipriani's there.
Cipriani was there. No, I think.
I went to Cipriani the
What's
first
it
time we were
called?
there.
And Nancy Silverton.
But,
There's
Chispaca.
Chispaca over there.
Wow.
Chispaca.
There's a lot of American brands.
you
There's
start
Jim
to real-
Connor from London's there.
You also start to realize
wild.
how
It's an amazing place.
How
you also
small the
start to
world
get
is.
to real not how small the world is, but also how media can dictate your perception of places. And until you go over there, like anything in the world, until
Oh,
you experience
yes.
it yourself, you shouldn't have a preconceived
Agreed.
opinion, even though we're all as Americans told that we should.
Agreed.
It's happening right
I would
now.
say
It's
that
crazy.
there's more
it's like-
similarities than
differences.
the differences. Yeah,
I
it's
love
like
that. I love that you're saying
it's a
that out
beautiful
loud,
culture.
too.
The people are amazing.
Yep.
The place is amazing. Visually, it's so different than what you're used to.
Yeah, and they
there's-
built a Jon
Qatar's
and Vinny's.
closer to California than Kansas.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
built
Well,
they
not so
built
much.
a Jon and Vinny's like to spec. I mean, it's
Oh,
like literally like the
Yes.
if you've been to the restaurants,
Yes.
like the materials are very selective, and like we try to carry that through line
Mm-hmm.
with the brand through all the stores, and it's like literally it's identical Jon.
when
and
we were
Vinny's,
in
so
there
it's-
last week and the music was on, the food was coming out.
You were like,
standing
I
in the
forget where
spaces.
you were for
Oh,
a
yeah, you're just
second.
like I'm at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like,
also the amazing thing is how many people, I would say 70% of the people that came in the first week told us that they lived in Southern California over the summertime.
Wow.
So-
Wow.
So it's like,
wild.
when you start, and that's where you start to realize like, LA is a metropolitan city. It's definitely has reached like, a handful of other cities here in LA on a global scale. And it's, where can you go with this brand? It's like that has taken over our lives. And I think that's where back to like when COVID and stuff, it's like, okay, this is our opportunity. Like no matter how many ideas we come up with between now and the time we die, we probably will never hit like what happened with Jon and Vinny's time wise when it came out, because it's not the idea, it's also when it comes out.
Yeah, you gotta take it by the tail.
It's got to come on the time, so it just turned 9.
And, wow.
It just turned 9, so it's only 9 years old.
thank
yeah.
you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we got 4 open in LA, opening a 5th in June or end
Where's
of May.
that gonna be?
Studio City.
That's the best. Studio
Yeah.
City. Everybody wants to be in Studio City.
Yeah.
Very cool now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're open in Studio City, and then we have obviously the Middle East happening now. They just opened their first. They're trying to open a second one early next year.
Any other global expansion?
not yet.
We're looking.
Did they
Somebody's
get London,
listening.
or did you
Come
get
on up. Give us a call.
No, we didn't get. No,
It's
we have
global, actually,
London's
so-
on our radar. Japan before COVID happened, we actually were talking to a few people in Tokyo about it, and then it just Tokyo, Japan closed up for a couple years,
Yeah.
and they just kind of cut
Just
those
the
conversations
coolest
off.
place on
But
the planet.
I would love to just do it,
Oh.
just to be able to go.
Yeah.
And like it's. But now I think the Middle East and the Gulf region's open to us, and like I would say the other cool thing about like making something and then have it accepted like so on such a huge scale is like that feeling. It was just so incredible of just like regardless of how they heard about it or where
Right.
they came from, if they had lived here, didn't come here. There were people that had been to California, hadn't been back in 10 years, whatever it was just that like these people were interested in what we were doing that far from where we originally did it is like, I imagine
Fascinating.
it's what it's like for an artist to play a concert somewhere
Yep.
like so far from home and so far from that original little
Yeah.
idea of where you do it. It's like,
Someone was asking me
it's
about.
insane.
Someone was asking me about ASCAP actually this morning, and I was like, it's the one bill that I'm like happy to pay. You know,
Yes.
it's like all the artists. It supports the art of music, and like in restaurants we're playing music. It's
Yes.
like it's the one that like I'm not angry about.
Of course.
Like,
It's very important part of the energy of the restaurant. You know, I think the
Yeah.
music and the vibe and like
Always,
it's
you
everything.
guys-
You know, it's like in the end of the day, like what we're serving
Yo.
is Italian American food, and it's like it's pizza, pasta. It's a little bit like we consider it like a diner. You know, it's
Right.
because we do breakfast and it's things that people know. It's just the totality of it all
Right.
is what makes it. I think for people something that they want more of. You know, I
course.
think it's
So you're like young guys. You're in California. You open this animal restaurant. You want to eat funky food. You want to drink great drinks. You want to do that, and then you grow up a little bit, and you're like, "Yo, I got a kids. I want to eat spaghetti and meatballs. I want to be comfortable. I want to. This is the type of food." So very much like where you are right now.
Exactly.
So if you imagine yourself in like 15 years.
I mean, I already kind
What's the
of.
restaurant going to be? What do you open?
I would say for us, one thing that we haven't done that we've always talked about is opening a hotel.
Oh.
You know, so that would be something maybe in 15 years we would do, but who knows? I mean, right now it's like I think I'm trying to find myself a understanding of paying attention to my kids. You know,
Right.
so it's like I'm working, I'm dedicated to work, I put in my hours, but I also like it's important for me to try to be at the baseball game. You know, for my son, or like at the dance recital. It's
Sure.
like because you're never going to go back and capture it. Where that takes me, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I agree 100% with what he said on that. I mean, I think the same thing.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
like
think,
you
but
gotta
I,
open
but,
Chuck E.
but I,
Cheese.
but I do, but I do,
2.0.
but I do think that like deep down and creatively, like there's always that stuff that's just kind of like eating at you. You know, you're like, I
Sure.
want to do this, and like I think like if I had the time and I had the money, it's like I would do. There's 1,000 ideas I would do,
Yeah.
but it takes great teams of people
Yeah.
to do it as well. And I think like building those teams, it's like, you think about, watching sports teams and how they have to try to build to be that championship team, and
Yes.
like, I think we have built many championship teams and taken them apart, and it's hard to do.
Yes.
And I think right now we have this great team with Jon and Vinny's, and like we really want to try to see this thing as far as we can with those people. And I think right now what we talk about is that like anything that takes us off of that is really just a distraction and is feeding our ego. It's like I want to do an insane sick steakhouse that like doesn't exist
Sure.
in LA. There are good steakhouses here, but I want to just do it through our lens. And it's
Right.
like, but I also know what that would do to us. I know it would take us completely away from what is really good for the team.
Is
Right.
it time to like hire? That's my mistake is like I'm always like I'm in control. I want to do it. I don't want to let go. But I want to do something else, and then I'm distracted. So at a certain point, maybe you just hire somebody to do it that loves doing that.
We have those people too.
Yeah, I was
But
going
it's
to say,
like
if you have
you
800
can't-
employees,
You
then
can't
have-
really get distracted. Like, you end up, you only have so much time in your day, right? And like, you can't do everything good. And it's back to television, to
Right.
where you started. It's like, you can't be a great chef restaurateur and be a great TV personality.
Right.
Right? Even Gordon struggles with
Right.
it. And he's the best of the best.
He's the
right?
best of the best.
When you
I mean,
go on his
Emerald, all
show-
those guys. We watched all those people.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
we grew up in the era of like Emerald and Mario, and
Yeah.
it's like all those like
Influenced.
they did it. They probably did it the best because their restaurants and their persona on TV was like equally as good.
Exactly. They were
But then it
dependent on each
eventually
other.
started to erode. The
Yes.
restaurants start to erode, and like getting to the people doing it, and it starts to not become yours. It's like we've had, we
just
worked
putting
with
your name
we
on
worked with great. I would say at Animal, the evolution of Animal is really. We'll go back to that because that was really where we started, and it was like as we started to open Son of a Gun, and we started to mature into having families and those things, and we started working with Ludo, and it pulled us away from it.
Yeah.
So it did need people to kind of bounce the ideas off of. It's like we worked with at Animal, it was like we had Mike Magliano, who's an insanely talented chef. He worked with us for a very long time there.
Yeah.
It was like the go-to guy that we'd feed ideas to and say like, hey, like here's the list, let's do it, present it to us, let's taste it, let's work on it together, etc. Same thing. Jonathan Whitener, same thing. He came in, did the same thing. He worked under Mike. They had
knew
worked
what you
together
wanted.
at
He
Craft.
knew your
Well, it
style.
was easier to nurture the
Right.
team, right?
Right.
And now Jon and Vinny's is this thing that is like it exists on this like bullet train,
Yeah.
right? And like one little thing every single day is so much to try to like, hey, like let's make sure we're going to start portioning.
Right, you have to keep it
We're going to start
consistent.
portioning the red onions for the pizza this
Right.
way, right? And it's like that one thing to get that to be done over 4 restaurants and the commissary. It's a lot. So
Right.
it's like
You're giving
to
me
let-
agita over
No,
to
but
let-
that's why
so
you
let-
can't take your
you
focus
can't, but you can't
away.
let you can't you can't just let people come in and just start throwing ideas into
That's
the
right.
system because it really takes away from what it is in its totality. I think
Right.
like
And
what
also,
it is right now
as
is
you grow it, you run into other issues. So it's not. I
Sure.
mean, it's just different challenges that you're working on.
Do you
And
feel like I feel like you guys have a resume, right? Like you cultivated this resume, and now all of a sudden you're doing a job that you don't have like if you were going out to hire someone and be like, "Yo, I want to run a 6-restaurant chain," you wouldn't be like, "Oh, well, we're the perfect candidates for that," because you're learning how to do that as you're going.
yeah, we're not.
yeah,
the,
but you know what? That's
you-
what's fun about it.
But you know, the
And it's
thing
like
is,
there's-
too-
We're the bosses right now.
Yeah, but we're not afraid of
It's
it. We're not afraid of it.
We
I think the
hated
same
having
thing.
a boss, so it's like if you bring somebody in, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
like
fair
it's
enough.
like that weird
But-
balance. I don't know. For now, if we could just kind of stay on course with what we're doing for the next handful of years and just focus on what we're doing, then that.
Well, when we
that's
talk about the
next
partnership, you talk about the marriage, and you talk about how you guys did it, and you say, we both always had to agree on something. And I think as that train started rolling, it was like, are we going to do this? Are we going to do this? Okay, let's do it. And like you guys just would look at each other, say yes, and then
You jump
do
off.
it. And
Yeah.
then you realize, okay, do we want to open 2, 3, 4? Like then you realize it's a different beast.
Yeah.
It is where you have to keep the
And
red onions
honestly, it's
consistent.
about the team. It's like
Yeah.
the team. There's been so many people that are part of Jon and Vinny's that have been there. Like the corporate chef started as a grill cook. Like he literally came up the ranks and like, could we go out and bring somebody that's run 20 stores and they would come with new ideas?
It's not the same.
Totally, it's not the same.
That's what fucked up.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's
just
completely
not-
blew up.
We gotta
my
learn
whole
together.
entire restaurant. We were doing so well, and then we brought a bunch of people in, and the whole thing just.
Yep, that's
The
where
culture took a shit.
like our CPA is always like, dude, you guys gotta like step up your pace. I'm like, man, whoa, slow down,
Yeah.
dude.
Yep.
It's not about
It's-
fast. It's about
Yeah.
consistency, slow, thought through decision making. And
We look at like Hillstone. They've grown over the years and they do it so well. I think like I go in there and I'm always in awe.
Their
like
training
how,
program is spectacular.
Their training but it's interesting. Since COVID, shout out to
there all the
Hillstone. I
time.
eat there all the time, and I'm always watching. And I could see that I think that they've grappled with how good they've been,
Right.
and like the lack of
Well-
of people there willing to do these jobs now.
That's-
I think that they've really sort of you can almost feel it in there too, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, you guys are seeing this a little
It's
bit.
on the
And
edge.
It's sort of like
yes, it could
yeah,
go.
It's
It's
a
a house
different
of
industry.
cards.
the
Yeah,
industry's
industry.
definitely changed since
but
the
that's
pandemic.
why you set a foundation.
Yeah.
You know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's why you can't like really release any of it, because once you do, then it's out of your control.
Control, yeah.
100%.
And we're
You
not
know?
ready for that yet. I think like we're not in the position to like, even opening in the Middle East and opening in Saudi, which is a very far way away. There's
many
people
hours
in there.
on a plane
there's-
is that from
it's just
LA?
Like, it's like a bit.
It's like
I mean, it's
18
basically a
hours. It's
full day.
crazy.
It's like
Woo!
it's a 24-hour day. I mean,
Yeah.
between like getting to the airport and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like.
Although I
Life's
was
full
talking
of
to
many
the-
journeys, and
the-
you got to be willing to take them.
Sure.
It's like
I think it
it's
was
amazing.
Randy Garudi from Shake Shack. He was early on, and he had just come back from opening in the Middle East, and he was like, "We learned so much from the way they ran. They're such an amazingly well operated organization.
Yeah.
that we learned so much that it helped us to expand over here with their practices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about Jon and Vinny's is that it's very organized. Like when you're working on something at least 70, 80% of your day, every day for the last 9 years, and you're not changing the menu or changing the design or changing really anything. You're just trying to refine the exact same thing, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
that's a unique
that's-
opportunity. Not every chef
so
can do
it's
that.
like Jon and Vinny's is like, it's tight. You know what I mean? So
Well, I mean, I think our
a lot
egos-
of a lot of the issues that we're battling there are just like bringing supply chain to where our supply chain demand is,
Yep.
and what we are. So like we are shipping. I mean, Chris's tomatoes we're using them over there, right?
No way.
Bianca DiNapoli.
What,
Yeah.
you were sending him over yourself.
We are now. We
are.
are still. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So he's got his cool can with the
I love
Arabic
that.
writing on the side
That's
now.
Oh, really?
amazing.
Oh yeah,
I
just
love
to bring,
that.
but it's like even like the ice cream base is Strauss Dairy, so it's like
Yeah.
just introducing new ingredients to a country is pretty cool to say that
Very
you
cool.
you did that.
You brought
right?
it there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we brought it there. It's like the first guy on the moon. You know what I mean? Like you're the first person that
But
brought
that's a-
Strauss
Maybe,
Dairy.
yeah,
That's a
maybe
legacy and
not
that's
the
a
moon,
learn.
but-
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
like-
cool.
I'm
But
in
it's
the
like that's
can
what
make-
that's like where my mind is now. I'm like
Yeah.
that's as
That's
like
a bigger
totally.
picture. And we talk about that a lot in here. What we've been wanting to focus on in the podcast is like, we are a different generation of chefs, right? You guys are the trendsetters, you're the icons, you're the OGs. But, you know, we're constantly wanting to learn still.
Always,
Like,
yeah.
still,
We still
like,
wanna learn.
that's why we traveled. That's why you're doing what you're doing
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now. Like, you know, I remember when our mutual friend Nate Appleman took the job with Chipotle, and everybody was dissing him, and they were all like, "Oh,
No.
you just won a beard award. You're
We
an
thought it was
A16."
so cool.
right? And I just wanted to pick his brain. I'm like, how did you know how to
Dude,
scale
this guy
up?
was like walking around
do
with
you-
bare feet.
Stock,
Like, just getting
stock
shit.
options.
Well, we were jealous.
I
when he
was so
doing-
envious
I
of
was,
Nate
I was
because-
jealous of
Fucking
Nate.
sweating it
Right.
out.
Also, Nate also is
Barely
like
making rent.
such a talented person too. You're
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you're like to
I
be
love
able
Nate.
to, yeah.
Me too.
That's
He's
a
here
risk.
tomorrow.
That's a
Is
risk
he?
that takes.
Yeah.
It
He's going
takes.
to Australia.
Yep.
It takes a
Yeah.
lot of courage to do stuff like that.
Well,
you know,
that's
it's
just
like,
it. And at that time, a chef that developed themselves to like, you know, a James Beard Award winner and, you know,
A16 was a game changer. Are you kidding me?
and highly regarded in the chef community, and
Yeah.
then they go to Chipotle,
was the
which
first
everybody
pizza
thought
pasta.
as
Yeah.
fast food
Wine.
and
Yeah.
lame, and how do you do that? And he was so smart because he
Yeah.
was teaching himself something that we never got to learn.
Yeah,
we
how to
didn't
ride
learn
that
scale.
corporate
We
wave,
learned
dude. He learned how to ride that corporate wave.
how to make mise en place on a line and cook, and that's it.
Are you
You
still
have to
getting in the
learn
ocean?
more.
Occasionally, it's too cold this time of year. It's just starting to warm up for me, so I'll be out there again in the
Are
summertime.
you surfing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I need a 3-4 even on the hottest day of the year. Out
Oh,
here.
really?
I like my.
We're Florida
I
kids.
literally I like shrivel up in cold water. It's like I'm like oh.
It's hard. It definitely makes you
But
more
I'll be
intense.
back out there. I'll be back out there for sure.
The I also think that like the Jon and Vinny's thing, like, and why we haven't tried to do 100 other ideas as they kind of come about. You know, that it is because that I think that Jon and Vinny's also satisfies us in the way that like in the restaurant in its total, that like it we love the design,
Yeah.
we love the food we make, we love the community it's built. And it's a viable business, you know. It's like all
Right.
those things are satisfying.
And we
How
love
rare
the
is
team.
that?
And it's
And
like,
we love the
and
team.
we love the
That's-
team,
that's
but
part of it.
it's people want it on like a more regular basis
Right.
than like what we saw was that like Animal and Son of a Gun and these other places we may have done along the way with and without other people were like they're so niche.
Right.
You know, you realize how like how they're used from the public, you know, like
Yeah.
because restaurants essentially are public space, and it's like
User-friendly.
it's user friendly. It's like it's for everybody,
Right.
And I love that. I love thinking that this thing is like we made this, and it's like it crosses all borders, boundaries, anything. It's like it's for everyone. There's nothing there that you couldn't bring your grandmother or your
Right.
boyfriend, girlfriend,
Or your
whoever,
baby.
or significant other, partner.
Kid.
Kids,
Right.
You know, it just it's really that thing. So it's satisfying to us.
I feel like a restaurant's like a house of cards and a puzzle, and it's always one like piece away from being perfect, and then the whole thing never really gets there. And when you get one that works on every level, you're like, oh, like just
Yeah.
don't fuck this up. It's
Yeah.
so
Totally.
special.
Yeah.
And if you can keep on doing that, and you can see how. If you can manage to grow it without losing that, that's really,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the dream. Like we all looked at it like, imagine you could grow McDonald's, but not lose what was special about it.
Yeah.
When it started out, because when McDonald's opened, that was the coolest restaurant on the block.
Yeah.
Still
Imagine
pretty
you could hold
impressive.
on
It's
to
still
that.
amazing what they do.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
Even
and
In
it's-
and Out, you know, In and Out makes all their stuff fresh. It's like,
Well, they've got God on their side. I mean,
yeah.
start praying.
Well, you see
Maybe we
what it
should get
did for
into that.
Chick-fil-A too.
Yeah, it's working.
But,
Closing on
okay,
Sundays.
I gotta go
So-
find them.
Going back to partnerships and going back to making that perfect restaurant, like you were just saying, like the restaurant industry is notorious for having broken partnerships, bad relationships, litigious partners, investors that are assholes, chefs that are assholes, whatever it may be. Like, there's very few people that have a partnership like you guys, like really very few. And I think, as you say, yes, we have to agree on everything, but there's got to be something more than that, in a way that you kind of grew up together. You grew up in this industry together.
Yeah.
There has to be. Has there ever been a moment where you're like, I can't talk to you anymore?
Like, absolutely,
I
we get
need
angry
a week.
at each other.
I need a day.
Argument
I need
is healthy.
an hour.
Argument is a healthy situation.
Have you ever gone to therapy together?
No.
But I think like the
Neither of us believe in therapists.
the discourse is interesting. It's like it's always like the conversation, the different points of view, and I think we value the
partnership.
The partnership. Well, but agreeing and disagreeing. I think like we value both. It's like there's something there to at least talk about.
Right.
And we do
think,
fight. I mean,
but
the older we've gotten, the less fighting we've had, because you mature as individuals, and you also know like what your other people's boundaries better than maybe you didn't beforehand. But there's
the maturity. I think like you learn not to try to make it hurt somebody.
Right.
I think like when maybe when you're 19 or 22, it's like you're not in control of your emotions as well.
Yeah.
I think also having kids has really helped both of
that's
us.
super grounding.
I mean, we've been working together 24 years.
What's the most time you
which is
spent
more
apart?
than half my life. More than
I think
half.
the most time we spend apart is like when we both go on like vacations or something like that. But other than that, like we were just in Saudi Arabia. We were 24/7. I mean, we're staying at the same hotel. Like we wake up, we took the same car to work. We we're at work the entire time. But it's like
doing different positions.
Yeah, but it's like there wasn't one minute where we weren't able to tolerate each other. It was just like we knew that we had to go there and get shit done, and like we both left there like we didn't get to do everything. We did a lot.
And
that was amazing.
We both
like,
feel like a sense like you don't want to let the other guy down. It's like it's a family.
Yeah, it's a family.
More of a family than a business partnership. And I think a lot of times what happens just in business partnerships is like, it's exactly that. It's a business partnership.
I think there's a lot of people.
There's a relationship that is dictated by financial decisions, and and usually whoever puts the money in has one view on the idea, and whoever doesn't put the money in has another view on the idea, and then there's people in between kind of that get equity or balance between each other. It's like we've always been 50-50. Right.
Jealousy gets in the way. Money gets in the way.
Yeah.
Different interests get in the way. One person got a family. One person doesn't. I got to take money out of the business to pay for my family. I'm like, let's keep it in and open another restaurant.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, but you guys have managed. It's a special.
And like, you know what? I think because we both came to the table with nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we had nothing to lose, and we built it together. At this point, it's like, you just look back at it and you're like, man, what's so fucking great? That I had somebody to experience this with.
Yes.
And at some point in our lives, we'll sit down and we're going to write the story that brought us to wherever we're sitting right now. Right? And it's like, we're just not ready to bust the pen out.
It was interesting. I just watched the documentary on Mr. Chow. And he had this moment in there where he said, like, even if I lost it all, he's like, I'm okay going back to Zen, like nothing. I'm okay going back to the one pan, one bed, one pot. And like, it really hit me because I was like, that's how John and I started. And like, knock on wood, that we can have the success of Mr. Chow.
Mr. Chow.
Yeah.
On the Line podcast is brought to you by Freitag Cocktails. I'm so excited about these. Freitag, that's me. Friday in German, hello. Friday's a great day for a cocktail. We make them in a family-owned distillery in San Diego. Chef-crafted cocktails, our own bitters, our own vermouth. We make Manhattan, Negroni, Margarita. What else could you ask for? Go to freitagcocktails.com, order them today, and they'll be delivered to your door. Cheers!
I disagree. It really sucks. As a guy that like really just put a bunch of cash in the bank and then lost it all immediately, it's not.
No, I know it sucks.
Keep your dough.
It sucks. There's
I know
remorse.
it's stressful.
There's remorse,
stressful,
but there's also that thing in life where just like you if you had to go back and rebuild it all, it comes from within you.
Sure.
And I think like that's where it came. All of this came from inside of us.
Sure.
This all was like we put this out into the world, and like the world was willing to accept it. you know, and like that's the coolest part. We made these things that people liked, they loved, they took care of, they nurtured, they
And you did
supported,
too.
and
Yep.
we did too. And like some things have an expiration date. Animal had an expiration date. It got to the point where it was like it couldn't be nurtured into a healthy state anymore. You know, and it was like whatever
And
you want to
we
blame it
didn't-
on. The
and
pandemic.
we didn't want to go
us,
back.
Yeah.
We didn't want to
Right.
go back, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
that's when you
that was
know.
in our past.
That's
You know,
when
we
you
were
know.
ready. Like
Yeah.
We did it.
You know, the fallback to animal was to move out of our apartment that we were living in and just live in animal if we couldn't afford both the apartment and the restaurant, right?
Right.
So it's like that was the real fallback. I mean, what's interesting, and I'm sure back to your comment about having the money, losing the money, is that like people only know you from when they meet you, right? So it's like people that meet me now only know me from Jon and Vinny's. They might not even know Animal,
Right.
right?
That's
It's like,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
like
People-
people
People
look at
call us
with,
Jon
with
and Vinny.
a lot of Jon and
individually.
Vinny's.
You're like, no, I'm
Yeah.
just Vinny part.
And
I'm not.
and like perception is, oh, look at these guys. They're rich. They got 4 Jon and Vinny's, right? It's like, I wish that was the case. You know, it's like they don't realize the debt
What
that
it
you're
takes.
carrying.
Yeah, we got a lot
the
of debt.
risk that you are carrying in the time that it takes to pay back that debt before there is any profitability.
The people
and
you're
how
employing.
government taxes that money at 50% here in California. So if you spent $1 million, you really got to make $2 million before you're back to zero. It's like people have zero reality on what's happening with you besides how they meet you, right?
That's
so
why
it's
you gotta
like
put it on
that's what's
Instagram.
nice is that if and that's where you see, you know, like back to that privacy,
Right.
It's like what's nice about Jon and Vinny's, even though it's called Jon and Vinny's, a lot of people don't even know who we are because we
Yeah.
don't put
Right.
ourselves out there, you know, because of that exact reason. You know, it's like I want that enjoyment that you have.
I
to be able to
cherish
wake up and
I cherish
Bam.
the friendships that I have, whether we still have aligned interests or not. People that can call you out on your bullshit, and know who you really are, and
Yeah.
can help to keep you centered. And you know, that's something that the fact that you guys get to keep that for each other is really very special. But I definitely highly recommend holding on to the dough.
Well, if everything fell apart today, we could all be line cooks.
If everything
You know what
fell
I mean?
apart
We
today, it
have
would
a
be
skill.
fine.
I
Because
always-
I'm older than I expected to get already, so I made it.
Yeah,
yeah, well,
that
that's,
too.
I would say this is one of the biggest problems in our industry is that there's really no path to retirement.
Right.
Yeah.
And
There
like
is
that's
not.
something that like for the past 5 years, I know Vinny and myself personally have talked a lot about
Yep.
individually. You know, you look at these guys, someone like Wolfgang, it's like, I know he loves what he's doing, but like, man, he should be like
He should
chilling.
be chilling.
Yeah,
yes.
but
You
he
know
could
what I
be
mean?
chilling. That guy's got $100 million.
I know, but
he
it just,
doesn't have to.
But what is that
continue.
balance? How do you separate for? It's like a drug. It's
Yes.
you know, it's like
It's your
being in
identity.
a restaurant. It's your identity. It's like I watched Thomas Keller speak at a conference. Had nothing to do with food. He was a random guest speaker. But the one comment that I took from TK was he came and hung his chef white up next to him, not on, but next to him. And he said he needs that there. That's his safety blanket.
Right.
Right. And it's like, how do we as restaurant operators, chefs, find that safety blanket in that comfort of whatever that golden year is for your life? Like,
Sure.
don't take this to the grave kind of vibe. You know, it's
No,
like, and
I
that's
mean-
that's something I like, you know, that interests me at this point. Not that I'm trying to do it anytime soon because I got a long path to travel, but like, hey, you know, in 20 years, I don't think I could do this. I don't think my body, my mind, you know, could handle.
We just
keeping
sat down when we first sat down. You were like, "Yo, how's the pizzeria going?" I'm like, "Oh, it's going really great." I struggle with the challenge of, you know, how much you pay your team, and your team is everything, versus how much, you know, profit you make to be able to distribute to the investors, because you need those people. And like, the reality is that at the cost of how much people are willing to pay for food and expect to pay for food, a path to retirement as a, you know, if you're a line cook, I mean, because you guys are at the, you know, you're at the top of the game. You're in the 0.01%. You know, you're at the very top. So it's like maybe the top 5% has that path, but you know, most of us that get into the world, we start cooking. It's like, do we expect to be in the top 0.1%?
Yeah, but
That's the
some of-
only fallback.
No.
Some of that goes back to decisions that individuals make and like back to what you pay. It's like there is industry standard through the, you know, obviously California Restaurant Association that exists here in California that gives, per zip code what the industry standard is based on the style restaurant, and like, using that as your guideline, and then using what your target guidelines are on returning investment and what is the appropriate percentages, etc., is always how we've practiced. Everybody practices differently, but it's how we practice. But as a young cook, when I made $4.15 an hour, right?
Big balling in Florida.
I elected to only spend $3.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, that's where people live out of their means. And like, we made decisions, and I think people are like, well, how'd you get to here? It's like, well, you don't know us from when we literally were sleeping on people's couches and we had one cell phone and one car, and like we
Sacrifice.
would walk because we didn't want to
lot of
pay for
sacrifice.
gas, and like we also saved a portion of every dollar we earned. So when we did have an opportunity, we were able to then do it, right? And I think that that's something that
But you constantly
can't
took
teach
those
that.
opportunities. You constantly looked for them and took them.
Still do.
And you still do. And I think going back to simply what you said, there's no path, you said, to retirement, but there's no path in this industry that anybody can actually follow. That's why I think it's so important to talk about your partnership, because not everybody can have something like that. And we spoke with Chef Mark Forgione a couple of weeks ago, and he was just talking about it's enough to just want to be a chef in a restaurant. Like, because we're talking about what you have to be today. You have to be a chef, you have to be a TV personality, you have to be a media mogul, you have to have multiple businesses, you have to be global. Wait a minute, can I just be a chef if I want to be? What is that path?
but you can be.
You can be, right.
And people do.
And
There's a
people
ton of
do.
them.
And they're happy that way. And that's
Yeah.
fine. And the path has now changed again. Like, from the beginning of my career to now, like, I got to diversify. I got to do stuff on television. We all got to write a book. We've got to travel the world. Like, what happens next? If some young kid comes up to me and says, I want to do what you did, there's no way I can say, well, this is the path you're going to take.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. You don't
Nope.
get the gold watch at the end of this. Like, it's not the same. So the path is ever changing. In one way, that's difficult because you can't really inspire and lead, for that exact thing. But at the same time, I think it's fucking awesome that we can do anything.
I
There's
guess
more
you could work
paths
in a
now.
There's
hotel.
more
and-
paths.
I mean,
you can be in Saudi Arabia.
There's more.
I can sit on the plane back to New York and eat your meatballs.
Yeah.
Like, I can do all of this stuff.
There's more. I mean, I feel like the social media stuff is pretty amazing to me to watch people that have a lot of talent that like
Yes.
make food on camera, and like they don't deal with what we deal with. They don't have the risk that we have,
No.
but it's like how do they maintain? I don't know. I don't know that world. I don't do it. And like I'm curious. I would love to learn, but I'm not wanting to do it myself. But I like to just know. But like, how does one see themselves in 10 years?
Well,
if you're
that's a
like,
very
you're
uncontrollable
good
world.
looking, you make cool food, whatever it is, it's interesting, it's healthy, all the things.
Right.
It's like whatever your angle is. But how does that sustain itself over time? I think
We don't know
like,
yet. We don't know yet.
We
right?
don't.
Find out in 10 years.
Exactly. We don't know, but
Your kids will
but it's a
find
new
out.
path.
Yeah.
But it is a new path that like it didn't exist when we were coming up.
That's right.
That path of being a personality just on social media.
Sure.
They don't need the Food Network.
No.
They don't
Then
need
you
all.
make your own.
They
There's a lot more viewership on YouTube than there is.
That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, it was
TikTok,
just like
YouTube,
What
I mean,
you were
all
talking
these
about in the beginning with Two Dudes Catering Show, like
Yeah.
how great the pilot was. That pilot is something that could be done on YouTube today.
Totally.
And you could keep it exactly
What's
that
weird,
way.
It could be on Food Network today. Just at the time, it was too edgy.
Yeah, I wish that was true. I mean, I think Food Network has their formula of competition shows.
They know who
now.
they are.
They're not talking about cooking as much, but maybe
Yeah.
it could be on Netflix.
their personality.
The nice thing today is that
personality.
it's like a sifter. So the
Yeah.
talent is going to rise to the top, and lots of people will fall through. But there's opportunity for you to put yourself out there and get in every home if you want to. It's just, man, you got to have some confidence to really sit up there in front of the camera by yourself and be like, I'm great, watch me, I'm on TikTok.
People do
But
it.
somebody could
People
pull that
kill
plug
it.
at any time too. It's like TikTok could be gone tomorrow, and then what is this person going to
I
do?
Yo,
mean-
the Chinese government's taking it away. We're going to be done
That's
for.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what
I think we're
happens to
seeing it
somebody
done
who's
for
made their
sure.
living
I think
this
at
way?
the end of the day, it's like your career path will just continue to evolve. Same with ours. It's like if you would have told us when we were in culinary school that we would be here right now doing this podcast, we probably would have said no way. You know what I mean?
I thought for sure we'd be. I thought maybe as a 19-year-old, I thought like we'd just be running a restaurant kitchen, or chefing somewhere, but moving around maybe a little bit more than what we did. Like
that was my only goal.
Yeah, that's all I really wanted to do. Was
Me
like
too.
Food's kind of the international language of the world. It's like you
Yep.
kind of adapt to anything in any scenario in any place. And I thought like, oh, I might end up in Thailand at a restaurant, or I might end up, but. Still haven't been to Thailand, so
Keeping that dream alive.
You gotta
Yeah.
go.
I
You
know,
gotta
I know.
go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
we are traveling the world now.
You see my passport, dude.
Yeah.
It's getting
Yeah, we're
stamped up.
traveling.
I
We're
try
just
to
traveling through our lens now.
That's
It's
right.
kind of wild. It's cool.
Yeah.
and you're making your mark all over the place.
And I hope to do it for more people. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
like that's kind of it's sort of
And create a path for people that are part of the team.
Yeah,
Not
your
just-
team is so lucky to have you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what your Christmas parties look like, but it must
They're
be a
zero
blast.
man,
now.
it used to be.
if they weren't in
used to be-
California and the liabilities and they used to be off the chart. They used to be back
Yeah,
in
we can't have much fun
We rent out
anymore.
like nightclubs and stuff, but you can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was-
unfortunately,
Back in the day where you could
Yeah.
have
You
a shift
also
drink.
want to like
Yeah.
the
Those don't
culture
happen
you want
either,
to
yeah.
foster changes over time because you're like, yo, this is going to be really fun. But do I want to foster that culture in my company when really, like, you guys, you love to have a good time, but you're serious about making great food and hospitality
Yeah.
and taking care of people. And, partying is fun. But that's the thing that's
It's not professional.
And that's
No.
the truth is that what's seen you this far is that dedication and focus, caring about what you do. And those are the types of people you want working with.
yeah,
And caring about your employees, yeah.
We try to run a professional organization across the entire board from A to Z. Follow all state, federal guidelines, laws, rules, regulations.
Yo, OSHA, if you're out there,
come on over,
our ladders are.
come on over.
We're like an hour and forever into this thing. How long has it been? An hour? We gotta wrap it up. This is
Wait,
taking- this
so
is-
is it okay? So
got somebody else in the hot
no,
seat next.
no,
I'll
you're
just
like
wrap it
we
up.
just want to be.
He's like, you guys don't have anything.
We
in-
respect
We
your
got no more-
time.
You guys
Went
have
to
you guys have
Dubai, we
interesting
got
enough.
back.
Yeah.
No, but okay, so
How's your
this-
brother, by the way?
Yo, my brother says hello and
Tell him
thank
I
you.
say hi.
And he's doing really, really well. Yeah, he
Nice.
just had his 50th birthday.
No way.
Amazing.
Pretty
No way.
special.
That's
So,
cool.
man.
Did you go?
I cooked.
Cool. Where was
I
it?
cooked at his house. I cooked. I got man, it was such a special meal. I bought a punch of great food and we made a special meal. It was really fun.
Nice.
Nice.
I love
So
that. See, that's
before
the
we
best.
wrap it up, talking about the greatest partnership in our industry,
Oh, come on.
John and Vinny. Is
Come
there
on.
what's truly next? Like, is there something
What's
really
truly
next?
next?
I mean, we didn't get to talk about Cookbook Market,
I mean,
but
the
that's
next
fine.
thing on the roster is Jon and Vinny's in Studio City. I mean, that's like the
Okay,
next
that's
thing. I mean,
great.
it's kind of
That's lucky for the people in Studio City.
That's what we're honing in on, and we're super excited about it. I mean, we have a couple other things going, but until they're really what we've learned over these years is until they're really hatched, it's hard to promote, right? Because
it.
you change what you're into, what opportunities and paths. So it's like right now, the next thing on the hopper, we're trying to target before the end of school year because it's right near a school. So hopefully we'll hit that target.
Nice.
Yep, we have a meeting there on Friday to try our first built-in bar stool for our new hard alcohol bar. That will be the first one for
Ooh.
Jon and Vinny's.
Really?
Yep, that's
Wow.
Yep, and it's introducing a new material, which is green onyx. To
Yo,
this
money green onyx.
Yeah,
Stepping
dude.
it up.
Dude, green onyx
That's
is
awesome.
sick,
Cool.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we still
Can't wait
like
to
we
see
still
it.
kind of
So we're like,
what are the
so we're
stools
like
made
we're
of?
Was
they're
that-
made out of white oak and steel right now. They're built in, fixed. 'Cause, we
Fixed
like
into the
everything
ground.
fixed there. 'Cause
Yeah.
we don't wiggly things to wiggle. And we're testing cocktails, classic cocktails. Yep, martinis. You know how we want.
Martinis are back.
Yes, because we're also
They're
They
back.
never went away, but yes, they are back. Espresso martinis.
We
Are,
literally-
that's what I'm seeing the
Yeah.
most of
Yes.
right now.
Everything
I'm
in
seeing
Jon and
espresso
Vinny's-
martinis
everything
everywhere.
in
Yeah.
Jon and Vinny's has to be, be part of the recipe Bible. There's a whole
Right.
system.
course.
Pictures,
But
new training guidelines come out for the bar. New rules have to come out about drinking at work. Back to the drinking.
Back to the drinking.
So yeah, it's
That's a hard rule.
But there
that's
is
the next
there's
thing,
an
and-
evolution even within the Jon and Vinny's.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah.
evolution.
Right.
Also, kind
started
of
with plywood and you're a green onyx.
Yeah.
It's evolving. To
Yeah.
Well, we never did the original idea was to do terrazzo flooring.
Oh, wow.
So that's my favorite.
And we just still
So
haven't done
crazy.
it. We just still haven't done it.
We can only-
haven't
Maybe
gotten.
it's Audi. Come
No,
on.
Yo, I got a ramen restaurant.
They got to get
up
the
in-
VCT tiles right.
Yeah.
We gotta get those-
Oakland.
Yeah.
And it was an old Sears, and it's got a terrazzo
Yeah.
floor. And I was just like,
Pink
it's
terrazzo?
got this green and white terrazzo floor. It's beautiful, but they also have they've got these fire
best.
fire department like discs that go up and down to the basement. There's metal discs on the floor. You can pull them out and drop a fire hose down there. And I was like, yo, we got to keep that. I don't know. They're like, why do you have to keep that? We got a grease trap
'Cause it's
downstairs.
cool.
And the grease trap guy goes through the fire department hole. It's amazing. The terrazzo
Are you
floors.
part of it? You
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Sick.
Got a ramen spot in
That's cool.
uptown Oakland. Yeah.
Amazing.
Sick. Yeah.
So good.
I mean, look, you always dream about building that, sick, crazy,
space.
I'm just going to waste money restaurant. And if I was going to do that setup, it would probably have carpet on the floors. I just feel
Really?
carpet's
Carpet?
so elegant. Yeah, you got, with having carpet, though, you got to have a good carpet cleaner. That comes,
Carpet
yeah.
floors is
Wow.
like cruise ship level. That's a very.
Look,
That's
I think
nice
a
and
rug-
quiet. It's
Yeah,
quiet.
a rug is
quiet,
better.
quiet.
Floors.
A big, cushy leather
Yes.
chairs, like
God.
That's sexy.
Yeah.
That's
Forgot
four
where we
seasons.
went recently that had carpet. Where'd we go? That
Ralph
we were
Polo Bar,
the
Polo Bar in New York.
wow.
Yeah,
I
They're
haven't
doing
been
like
there.
$28
I have to check
million
it out.
like a night.
Yeah.
Man, that room.
It's
You know
the
what makes you
carpet.
so
It's
mad?
the
You're
carpet,
like
dude.
you're like Ralph Lauren. You were so good at what you already did
Yes.
for the world
Yeah.
at
And now you're good
clothing
at a restaurant.
and fashion, and then you do a restaurant like that. That level, you're just like, oh, it's so frustrating.
But unfortunately, I'm going to be just on the VCT.
Gotta
and
make
the-
money to lose money.
Corey
Yeah.
tile.
That's okay. Well, listen, you guys are leaving a legacy behind. If you stopped everything right now, I mean, it would be something
We'd be
we
happy
remember
if
for
we
the
stopped
rest
there.
of
Thank
our
you.
That's what we were
rest
king
of
of
our
the
lives.
podcast, and
Yeah.
now that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
No, but we want to watch you grow and see this partnership
Thank
live
you.
on forever.
Thank you.
Well, the
Love you
partnership
so
could live
much.
on even without restaurants. That's
Yeah.
what's cool about a brotherhood.
I just want you to not
right.
screw up Jon and Vinny's because it's so delicious.
Thank
I
you.
want to keep on getting
I
meat
know.
there. You know what I mean?
Thank
It's
you.
like,
I don't want to
screw
screw it up either.
There's no chance.
Yeah, I don't wanna
There's
screw it
no
up
Well, you
either.
guys, thanks
So
for
good.
having us. Good
Thank
luck
you
on the
for
rest
being
of them.
here.
Thank
yes,
you.
we love you so
Peace.
much.
Thank you. We love you guys. Thank you.
Season 2 of On the Line was recorded in Santa Monica, California at Operation Podcast. Thanks, Chase.
Our engineer and editor is Matthew Donahue. Our theme song is an original composition by John DeLucci. Thanks, Chef.
On the Line is produced by Cindy Augustine. Our co-producer and publicist is Jesse Gerstein.
Our social media and marketing guru is Kedzie Teller.
Thanks for listening.
To On the Line.